Hey everybody, I want to let you know about a huge announcement from Epic Games involving Datasmith, which is their new tool that bridges the gap between 3D Studio Max and virtual reality in Unreal Engine. It's a game changer, guys. It's going to change the way you work, and it's going to make it way easier. Let's look at their announcement real quick. Okay, here is the announcement on UnrealEngine.com. And it is announcing Unreal Studio now in open beta. So it's an open beta, and the overall product is actually called Unreal Studio. And with it comes Datasmith, which is the tool that converts all your 3D Studio Max stuff into things that will work in Unreal Engine. So V-Ray materials now convert, V-Ray lights will convert. Pretty much everything you have in your scene will just convert directly if you export it through Datasmith. It exports as a Datasmith file, and then it imports as a Datasmith file into Unreal Engine, and it just kind of works, and it's kind of awesome. So all the scripts that we need to use to turn everything into standard materials and unwrap everything and move everything to the right pivots, all that stuff goes away. It is fantastic as far as how much time it saves you. Here's some more video. This is from the Evermotion site. This one, I don't know where it's from, but this just shows some sizzle reel stuff. Here are the different things that come. So Datasmith is the importer tool, basically. It's really a perfect bridge between V-Ray and Unreal Engine. I've been using it already this week, and it's quite awesome. I gotta say, it lives up to the hype of being a game changer as far as your workflow goes. It comes with learning. It comes with support. The learning's awesome too. The support, I haven't tried out yet. The assets, it comes with specific assets for ArcViz. And it also comes with an importer for Substance Designer and Substance Painter. So if you're creating custom PBR materials in there, they can now be directly imported into Unreal Engine, and the pipeline is cleaned up there. So this is showing that any kind of CAD you're using, any kind of 3D you're using, can go through Datasmith, and then it will interpret it, translate it into something that works in Unreal Engine, and come across as basically what you intend it to be in its original format. So V-Ray materials now come across just as they were in 3D Studio Max. That's the big part for me. You don't have to wipe your materials clean, make them into standard, and then kind of start from scratch when you get into Unreal. Also, the scaling and the pivot points all work as you come across, which was a huge deal for me as well, because that gets super annoying trying to import everything at the right scale and at the right pivot point, as you guys probably know if you've worked in this workflow for very long. So Datasmith is a big deal. So how do you import it, or how do you get it? Well, it's open beta right now. So if you go to UnrealEngine.com, Enterprise, Unreal Studio, you'll see right here, get the free beta. You'll want to go here and download Unreal Studio. And what that will do is give you a download for a brand new Unreal Engine games launcher. So it should say Unreal Studio Beta here, active. And once you have that, then you can go and you have to install a beta version of engine number 4.19. So you can do that by going to Library, hitting this Install New Version of Unreal Engine, and it'll bring up a tab like this, and you can drop down, and you should be able to see 4.19 Preview 6, and that's what you want to install. If you look at installed plugins here, you'll see that Unreal Datasmith and Substance plugin are installed already. They will automatically install when you install the engine, or you can go down here and see the different plugins that can be installed. You'll want to get this, the 3ds Max exporter. If you just hit get, it will take you to a download page. And what that does is it makes it so when you go to export in 3D Studio Max, you will see a new file type, and I think it's called Datasmith something Unreal Datasmith file type, and that's what you'll want to export as. And then you'll see that in Unreal you just import the Datasmith file, and boom, everything works. Okay, so that's how you get it. There's all these learning tools for it now too. And by the way, as a note, this is open beta, so they say themselves it's not ready for production. It does have some bugs. I've been testing it out already, and it does have some bugs. There's things that make it crash. However, it's awesome. They recommend having 2 versions of the engine and keeping all your old projects in your other versions until 4.19 is a product release. Once that happens, the beta will be over and it will cost, I believe, $48 a month, $49 a month, something like that. For me, that uses it for commercial purposes, that will be totally worth it because it can save enormous amounts of time. It gives you also support, access to their support, professional support, and learning resources. So that's a pretty big deal too. So let's test it out real quick and see what we can get. Without any prep to my models, let's just go in and see if we can import it using Datasmith. Okay, I have this model here, this 3D model. And this is actually created in Corona, so I've got Corona materials on it. And let's see how this comes in. I'm not going to adjust anything except maybe get rid of these Corona proxies down here. I'm not sure how those would come in. We can test that later, but I would want to bring them in separately anyway. I assume they'd come in as a mesh, but right now there's so many polygons that they'd probably slow me down a little bit. So for the purpose of this video, let's get rid of those. And then let's just import this as is into Unreal Engine and see what happens. So all you have to do to export using Datasmith is just grab this. And again, I haven't made any other adjustments here. So let's go to File, Export, Export Selected. We should have a Datasmith in here now. Actually, you know what helps when you're trying to export using Datasmith is installing the Datasmith exporter first. Let's do that. Okay. Okay, now that I've actually got it installed, let's try this again. Select, Export, Selected, File Type, Unreal, Datasmith. Okay, I'm going to find a file, put that in. Okay, it gives you the option to do the selection or visible or all visible objects. In this case, it will make no difference. Same thing. Okay. Here it goes. Exporting to Datasmith. It doesn't take too long, surprisingly. While that's working, let's open this thing up. Launch Unreal Engine Preview 4.19. Preview number 6. Okay, what we'll do here is a new project. And we'll have our regular blueprint templates here, C++, and then Unreal Studio, which is what we want. Now, the product viewer is the only template they give you right now. I'm sure there will probably be more when it's ready to be a full release. What the product viewer does is it allows you to bring in Datasmith info, but it has some template stuff built into it, which basically every time you hit play, it brings up a blurry screen with 2 buttons on it that says desktop or VR, so you can navigate in either one of those ways. However, I haven't actually got that to work yet. I'm not sure they've got it fully up and running. At least they haven't explained well how to make it run, because when I go to VR, it does not work properly. The desktop navigation does work properly. Anyway, the point is we don't necessarily want that functionality to be exactly like that, and maybe if they get it working better, then I will. But for now, I'm just going to go with blank, and we'll just call it dsmith test. Okay. And create project. Okay, here it is. You'll see this is just a blank scene. There's nothing in here except the sky, background, the atmospheric fog, direct light, skylight, reflection sphere, and player start. And there's this new button up here, which is Import Datasmith. And let's see, what do we drop down here? Yeah, we just want this button here, Import Datasmith. We shall go to our files. Datasmith Export, Exterior, Datasmith. Boom. Okay, put it in the content folder. Okay, actually we can make a new folder here. Say mesh import. Or let's just call it meshes. It actually will bring in a bunch of materials too. So now you can see you can bring in your lights, your cameras, your materials, and textures, geometry. Okay, I do want to bring in lights. I don't want to bring in cameras. We don't need that. And basically the light will just bring in my sun. And one cool thing is if you have like a V-Ray dome light in your scene and you bring in your lights, it will actually put a sphere around your whole scene, make it and apply your HDRI to it even, and use that as your background, which is quite cool. And I believe it'll put the HDRI in a new skylight actor too. So anyway, it's found ways to translate basically everything. It's quite cool. So you can see here it comes. It's all coming in. Corona materials work just fine. V-Ray materials work just fine. So my material information all translates. which is awesome because you know that it was basically started from scratch before, because you have to change everything to standard material, and then in Unreal Engine you have to kind of wire in a bunch more functionality to make it look realistic. But since we've already made it realistic in V-Ray or Corona, all that stuff will come across and you'll see what it looks like. It's pretty complicated stuff if you were to create it from scratch. But when it translates directly, it's really not that hard. So it's a much faster way to get very realistic looking materials, let's put it that way. So let's see what this material looks like. This one's pretty basic, so, well, basic, not really, not when it translates. Okay, so this is what Datasmith does. It takes a basic material in V-Ray and mimics it exactly by using all the different nodes available in Unreal Engine. So it's actually not that simple in here, but it gives you a really realistic material. So no matter what you do with your materials in Corona or V-Ray, it will find a way to translate it into here, and it looks kind of crazy. What this is doing is adding and subtracting and dividing and multiplying all our different spinner numbers in 3ds Max, and giving us, this is for the Fresnel effect. So it looks kind of crazy, but the point is it gives you directly the material that you had in 3D Studio Max, which is awesome. Okay, so here's my block material. And there it is. There's all the stuff. It turns your bump maps into normals for you, which is fantastic. It saves you enormous amounts of time. There's the texture sample. I mean, everything about this is great. I love this. Okay, so it's come right in. You hit play. Here we are. Looks like one of the materials is struggling, or I didn't have a material assigned there. I'm not actually sure what that object is at all. There you go. We're in Unreal Engine walking around this building literally within seconds of exporting. We're ready to go. And you saw what I did for the export. I didn't cut anything out. That was all it was. So a scene that I had no intention of ever taking into VR is basically up and running. I'll now have to focus on the lighting, and you'll see that, okay, my V-Ray sun should be in here, or my Corona sun, sorry. And it'll be called direct light source. I think that's my sun right there. That's my set. That's the sun I had in 3D Studio Max, I believe. One thing you have to be careful of is if you have certain lights in 3D Studio Max, they will come across as a duplicate because they were already included in the template. So like a direct light, if it's already in here and then you import a V-Ray sun or a Corona sun, it will now have two direct lights, stuff like that. And like I said, the dome light, if you have that, it'll come in and it will be a duplicate of this skylight here. So you got to watch out for that. Right now I'm seeing my sky sphere. If I turn that off, I will still have my straight up blue behind that, which looks more like the Corona sky or V-Ray sky, right? Anyway, this thing's basically up and running. Now we can take our direct light and start baking our static light into here, making this look realistic. You can see my glass is working, shadows are working. So anyway, that's a great out-of-the-box solution. And these materials aren't even super complicated, but it still demonstrates how they just come right across. Now, I have done this already with some really complicated interior materials, and everything just kind of comes across and works. It's really great. And you'll notice here, I didn't worry about where this was placed in world space in 3D Studio Max, but all the pivots are in the right place. Okay, so that is awesome. I can just select these objects and move them. So I never moved them to 0, 0 or anything like that. I never scaled them. Everything's working. That's still scaled at 1, 1, and 1. Its location is 934, negative 2004, blah, 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 etc. But the pivots are in the right place. So just that one thing saves me so much time. Okay, so there you have it. That's how Datasmith works. That is pretty awesome. And now we can concentrate much more on making these good-looking images. Concentrate on the lighting, the light bake, making it look realistic, because the materials are basically there. Now the rest is just tweaking until we get photorealism. So in my opinion, this Datasmith thing really helps that process along, because I'm not focused on import settings and all that other stuff that was bogging me down so much. So hopefully you guys love this. Check it out. It's a free beta for now. I think in November, sometime in the upcoming months, it will become a production product and then you will have to pay for it. I think it's worth every penny. Go check it out, see what you think.